podcast. Got to be tenacious about your recovery if you want to stay sober. My name is Vinny. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And I'm Sam, alcoholic and an addict.
And I'm Sally. I'm an addict.
Welcome, Sally.
Hey, Sally.
Welcome. This is an old friend from the neighborhood. Won't tell you how old we go back, but from the neighborhood, from the parish. And she's here to tell us her story. And again, as a reminder, we're a traveling podcast, and we are in Newtown Square, Delaware County, Pennsylvania today.
And it's nighttime. It's our first first time we've ever done a podcast after lunch.
There's no sun out. It's nighttime, but it's all good. So, Sally, take us back to whenever you want. You could start at the beginning. Let us know who you are and what you're doing here.
Well, it probably started around 2001. My youngest child, I found out when he was a year old, had 2 strokes and was partially paralyzed. Told me he would never walk or talk.
Strokes in the womb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a hard pill to swallow because that happened when I was supposed to be protecting him. So I would not take no for an answer. Once I got a diagnosis, I had him down at CHOP 3 days a week and got home services 2 days a week. I did this mostly by myself. I didn't have the support of my son's father, my spouse. My best friend was there for me, but she had to go home. So for 3 years of my life, it was consumed with making sure he was okay. And I would never change that for the world. And I lost myself in it. And then when he started going to school and he was walking and talking and he was fine, I didn't know who I was anymore.
He started doing all those things they said he wouldn't
walked,
do.
he talked. He's an actor in New York City right now.
Nice.
So,
Good for him. So what kind of an effect did that have on you?
that's when my anxiety started.
You were a great protector, and now he's like just a normal kid growing up.
Yep, he's perfect.
So what'd that do to you?
Well, it's when my anxiety kicked in, although I didn't know it was anxiety at the time. I thought I was told I was crazy.
Oh.
And I believed what I was told.
You were told by other parties, we'll call it?
Yes, we'll call it other parties, that I was crazy. And anytime anything came up in those years of when I was with that other party, I was told I was crazy. Even like I would go to a doctor, I'd go to a therapist, I'd get anti-anxiety medication. And if I took it, I was crazy. And if I didn't take it, it was, watch out, Mom didn't take her crazy medicine today.
Yeah.
So around that time, I also developed really severe migraines and was prescribed a lot of medication for those migraines.
Yeah, I can imagine what kinds.
And what I realized in hindsight is I wasn't really taking the medications as prescribed for the pain. I was taking them to escape my reality.
As needed.
Yeah, as needed.
As needed, of course.
Which was a lot.
You know what's funny is a lot of people, I feel like, especially on the podcast, but we don't really talk about this time period of like 2000, let's call it 1998 to 2006, where narcotic pharmaceutical drugs were so overly prescribed to women such as yourself in circumstances such as yours. I can't begin. I have 3 kids, right? I have 3 daughters. My wife already has anxiety. Being a mother of children that have also not gone through the same thing as yours, it makes her an anxious mess. It sends her over the edge. I'm not saying your story isn't yours, right? But I'm saying that you're not necessarily alone in what you went through.
I know that now.
And in what you went through in that particular time period, I mean, these doctors, I'm just going to say it. They were being paid and treated so well to push these new age, I'm putting bunny ears up, these new coming pharmaceutical drugs out into the masses, especially into like the middle class. You know what I mean?
Especially when they were touted as being non-addictive.
Of course. You remember when they would put out studies saying like oxycodone was completely non-addictive? They would do like BS studies. Right. You know, and like with graphs, with fake graphs and like literal medical studies being like, see, it's not addictive. you know?
I waited 6 months to get into a headache center that was
Yeah.
world renowned.
Really?
And I walked out of there with a pocket full of prescriptions.
Yeah.
I
My
mean,
goodness.
multiple narcotics and other medications, and being told I had a crooked tongue. So whatever that had to do in it
What?
with anything.
That's
I
just
never heard that
That's just rude.
diagnosis.
Yes. So I literally, at that point, I remember walking out of that appointment and thinking, I thought I was going to get the answer here, and they're just giving me more drugs. And I literally threw those prescriptions in the trash can and went
Good
home.
for you.
Oh, you threw the scripts in the trash can?
Threw the scripts in the trash.
But at this point in time, you were
I had
prescribed
already been
meds for anxiety, correct?
Not for anxiety at that time. It would,
Okay.
because it would be here and there where I would feel like I was getting anxious, or my
Yeah.
family was going through something, and I would go on a Lexapro or a drug of that kind.
Like an SSRI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew if they worked or if they didn't work, because I didn't want to take something every day, so I didn't.
I think people still don't know that, to be
People
honest.
don't know what.
I don't know. Don't ask me about SSRIs. I think they're all a fugazi, just like some of the same narcotics we were just talking about.
Yeah, but
they
you
no,
don't
they
get
do
addicted
work.
to an
no, I'm not going to
SSRI.
say that. I'm not. I know, but I do think that they are heavily pushed within a massive agenda upon massive amounts of Americans, and I don't think that they have any proven results. I think that SSRIs are a symptom diluter, not a end-all be-all to cure the mass amounts of anxiety and depression that exist amongst millions, you know? And I don't want to be a hater. I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon when it comes to this kind of thing. I refuse pharmaceuticals up and down the board when anyone brings them up to me. And you know what? There are probably times where I could have used them. So I get a little bit haterish when it comes to talking about this, because my story is a lot different than yours, but there's a part of it that's very similar, because I was pushed narcotic medication on myself when I was 6 because they told me I had attention hyperactive deficit disorder, and I was just on speed from the time
They
I was
told
6.
all kids that.
They told all us young millennials that, right? So it's like we all kind of existed in this generation where they were like, whoosh, you know? It was like the pharma wave. So I don't want to knock SSRIs. I'm not trying to be rude here. If they help you, please continue to take them. Listen to your doctor. I guarantee they have your best interests at heart. I just think that there was a point in time where they were treated like stitches when they were really just a Band-Aid. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then, so life went on, and I had my ups and downs with the Xanax at that time. And I would have points where I wouldn't take it for years at a time. And then I have points where I couldn't get through a weekend without taking it. Then I got divorced. And I went down a dark road, because here I was, a stay-at-home mom. All I knew was taking care of my kids. And all of a sudden, for a week at a time, they're not with me.
Yeah.
So I ebbed and flowed,
What year was this?
starting 2011.
Okay.
And as much as I thought I hid my pain from my kids, I've come to find out I didn't hide it at all.
Yeah.
I have a son that's in recovery, 5 years.
Congrats.
And a lot of his trouble started around that time. He became addicted to alcohol as a way to deal with his depression and anxiety around the situation.
Same.
And so, I've had periods where, like I said, years when I don't take it. Most recently, I went to a psychiatrist because I thought that's what I was supposed to do when I was struggling.
Correct.
And a psychiatrist who's never met me, and this all happened over COVID,
Yeah.
who's never met me, has only seen me 5 minutes at a time on a FaceTime call, decided it was a great idea that I needed 90 Xanax a month.
Wow.
90, I hate to...
90.5 Xanax a month.
I was going to say, I hate to qualify myself here. I was going to say 90 footballs or 90 bars.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would get them, and they'd be gone in a week.
They were all PRN. They were all as needed,
Yes.
quote unquote. Yeah.
But they'd be gone within a week,
Yeah.
2 weeks sometimes, but mostly a week.
Can I ask, were you drinking while
No,
at the time as well? Okay.
no, I wasn't.
Yeah.
And it was at night. to sleep. It was never during the day. It was all
You
at
never
night.
took them during the
No,
day? And
never.
all 90 would be gone in a week?
Yep.
That's
You were
one
taking
hell
a
of a
handful at a
night.
Yep.
time.
Holy
I would wake
smokes.
up and, again, severe anxiety, not thinking I was treating it. This is what you do to treat it. Flash forward to this year, February 16th of this year. I had a rescue dog, Elliot, who was 3 years old at the time. I got him when he was 4 months old. We were laying in bed getting ready to go to sleep, and I heard the lowest guttural growl come out of him, and he attacked me
Out of nowhere?
out of nowhere. He was licking
Why?
me, and he attacked me.
Wow.
A
Bit my-
rescue? A rescue
He
dog.
bit my face, broke my nose, deviated my septum, and broke one of my eye orbits.
No kidding.
Lacerations. I had to punch him to get him off me.
Oh my! What kind of dog was he?
He was a tried and true mutt, but he did have some pit in him, but I'm not a pit hater.
Not me either.
How long did you have him up until this happened?
3 years. I've had him since he was 4 months old.
You still have him?
No.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
So,
So this is out of nowhere.
Out
You
of
had him
nowhere.
for 3 years.
I mean, he was a nut with everybody but me.
Okay. Okay. So he had that in him.
Yeah, he
it
did
wasn't
have it
like
in
he
him.
never he had
No,
displayed
he
signs
had
of
it
this
in him.
before. Okay.
So wound up at the emergency room that night to see an ENT during the week. Found out I was going to need surgery
Yeah.
to fix the eye orbit and the nose, and that I was going to have to put him down.
Yeah.
That killed me
I'm
because
sure.
I felt horrible that I had to do that.
Of course.
Stayed with him till the very end. I did not cope well with this situation at all. I was drinking Xanax like they were water, just
Yeah.
handfuls.
All the time, not just at night anymore.
No, I was working during the day.
Oh, you were working
I was
during the
working
day.
during the day, so
Okay.
it was at night on the weekends. Then I had the surgery. And at this time, I was dating an individual, and he was supposed to come stay with me after the surgery. But I got told the day before the surgery that he could not come and stay with me because it would upset his dog to see me unwell.
It would upset his dog.
It would upset his dog.
Okay.
So my mom and dad stayed with me the night of the surgery, but they left the next morning. So now I'm alone. I'm in pain. I'm under the effects of general anesthesia,
Yeah.
and I just don't want to deal with my situation.
Yeah.
My kids didn't hear from me Saturday, Sunday. Monday morning, my son climbed through my bedroom window. And when I was in the bathroom, he found the Xanax bottle and saw
Yeah.
that I had taken 79 in a week.
Oh wow.
And
Where were you that he climbed through your bathroom window?
in my bedroom window in my apartment.
Oh,
In my apartment.
here?
Yeah. I live on the first floor, luckily.
Oh, gotcha.
Wow.
So he climbed in the bedroom window, and he was mad. Oh, was he mad? I've never seen him so mad.
Yeah.
He took all my medication, even the stuff that, like, my antibiotics that I needed to be on and my cholesterol medicine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, everything.
Yeah, he just took everything.
Took the aspirin,
Yeah.
everything.
And
St. Joseph's baby
was gonna
aspirin.
say.
He took it all.
he works in recovery. So he
To
had
any
some,
lengths, they say.
Yeah, right, exactly.
he's got some connections, and he talked to these people, and they said, you cannot let your mom go through sudden withdrawal like this.
I know.
So he bought me over 3 Xanax a day. And I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what. The last Xanax I took was March 25th, only because I finally fell asleep for 2 days. I didn't wake up Thursday for it. I woke up to go to the bathroom, and that was it.
Can I ask, when you were taking the 3, like when you were getting the old sun taper, as we're gonna call it, were you feeling sick? Like, was that a difficult
No,
time?
I think I had so much in my system, and still
Yeah.
from the general anesthesia that I was
Yeah.
coming under, because this was all within a week of my
Yeah.
surgery.
That makes
For sure.
sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that Friday morning, up goes the bedroom window again. Mom, come to the front door. Went to the front door,
I smell an intervention.
and there stood my 3 children, my daughter-in-law, my best friend, and 2 strange men. And they came in, and I basically said to them, well, they told me later, I said to them, I'm not fucking going anywhere. I don't remember saying that. I remember saying, I need to go to the bathroom, and I need to have a cup of coffee, and then I'll talk to you. And we sat down, and my oldest son, got through the first letter. And I said, where am I going?
So you were ready to go, yeah.
Where am I going? I knew I needed something.
Yeah.
And if I didn't wind up in a recovery center, it would have been a mental institution.
Gotcha.
I'd much rather have control over myself. So I got
Well, you didn't need a mental institution.
well, maybe. I was out there because of the dog. I was struggling. So, again, ton of anxiety. Just didn't have the tools to deal with it. Went to a treatment center. Was scared out of my mind and was put into detox. I think I was higher during that detox than I was ever in my life. They had me on Librium, but I never missed a lecture. I never missed
Good for you.
any programming. I would go in and sleep for 15 minutes in my room and get up and go to programming. I don't remember a lot of it. And luckily they had a policy that when you were on tapers, you had to have 2 people at all times walk with you. Couldn't walk by yourself if it wasn't a staff
Right.
member.
Sure.
But slowly I got done the tapers and I started feeling really good. I started feeling really clear-headed. And I also did not miss the cell phone because that was taken from me.
It's
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
It's nice to get away from the cell phone.
It's
That's
great.
unplugging. Yeah.
It takes a second. You almost have to detox off that for a second.
Well,
but
I was
once you're-
not used to. I had bought an alarm clock. We were allowed to order stuff off of Amazon as long
Yeah.
as they checked it, and I ordered a good old fashioned alarm clock.
Oh, wow.
Nice with the red
Yeah.
glow. Yeah, that thing will catch
So,
you.
And then I didn't go to college. I didn't have the dorm room experience.
Yeah.
Here I am, a 50-some-year-old woman who's sleeping in a twin bed, and they put a 30-some-year-old kid in my room with me.
Of course.
Got to mix it up.
And I got to tell you, she's one of my best friends right
Cool.
now.
That's funny how that goes.
Yeah.
I
They know.
met 4 other women in treatment. They are my sober sisters.
Love that.
Cool.
We celebrate each other. We support each other. We hold each other up. We're there to listen. We have a group text going at all times.
Yeah.
We've gotten together all twice since then. Once we went in New York and we went out to dinner and we just had a good old-fashioned sleepover.
I love that.
That's cool.
Then when we all celebrated 6 months, one of the girls has a home down in Wildwood. We all went down together. We bought each other little gifts. We celebrated our 6-month recovery,
Oh,
went
my
out to
God.
dinner. It was a great feeling.
That's
I would be
cool.
lost without these women.
You know, it's so funny you say that. Well, in one of my stints in treatment, actually one of the only times I could actually say I completed treatment, I was 21 or 22 at the time, and they put me in a room with this guy, and he must have been pushing 70, or else he had drank himself to look like he was pushing 70.
I'm sure
guy
that's
could have
it.
been 51
He
for
might
all
have
I
been
know,
50.
right?
Right.
Dude, he was a car salesman from the Lehigh Valley, and he was just blinged out, and he was missing teeth, and he would look over at me every day with disgust because I was really sick. Like, I would get really, really sick when I would stop drinking, right? He would look at me with disgust, and I remember, like, one day when I started feeling better, I just looked back at him and just gave him the same dirty glare right back, and we became best friends at that moment. I think about him often. So
That's
it's-
cool. That's cool.
I really appreciate you bringing that up because
Yeah,
that
it's-
is such a having a roommate, right? Whether you're in sober living, whether you're in treatment, whether you're showing up to an outpatient program in a room full of people that you continuously want to tell yourself that you are not like. We all share these common traits, these common defects of character that just allows us all to get along really, really well.
Yeah.
You know? And it makes no sense whatsoever. But when you see it, it's priceless, you know?
Like we said, we were at our absolute worst when we met each other,
Yeah.
and we formed a bond.
Yeah.
And
The program is about helping each other,
It
too.
is. It's-
You get a lot out of helping.
it is. And when one of us is having a bad day, the rest of them are being strong,
Absolutely.
But in treatment, I got exposed to a program called Recovery Dharma, which is meditation based.
Can you explain a little bit about it to me? Because I know what it is. I've heard of it, but I actually don't know what it is.
You sit there for about 20 minutes in a guided meditation
Okay.
where they kind of do a body scan and just takes you through where your tension is. Kind of helps you tune everything out. You focus on your breath.
You can do it by yourself.
You can meditate by yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
But the recovery dharma is more about, it's based on the Buddhist. It's not religious. It's not denominational at all.
Yeah.
But it's based on the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path of the Buddhist principles.
Okay.
In there, it was one of the counselors that led it. We would read a chapter we would go around, whoever wanted to read from the Recovery Dharma Handbook. And then there would be a time for open sharing if you wanted to.
Okay. So similar to that of a 12-step fellowship, almost like there's a.
So you did that in outpatient?
No, I did
Or
that
you
in
did that
inpatient.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
She
did that
did that when she was
inpatient.
away.
I
Gotcha.
did AA, NA, and that inpatient. Since being out of recovery, I found a local recovery Dharma group
Yeah,
good.
that I
they're
go to
around.
on Friday nights.
You see
And,
more in now.
let me
Yeah.
tell you, it is the perfect end to my week because I go to a yoga studio that's lit in electronic candlelight,
Cool.
and it's dark. And you do a guided meditation as you're laying on a yoga mat with a pillow, and you do this meditation. And then the group I belong to, we read from this book by her name's Pema Chödrön. She's a Buddhist nun, and we take turns going around robin reading, and then there's about an hour for an open chair for everybody to get what they need to get off their chest.
Almost like a check-in.
Yeah, and to get support if you need it, and just to be there for each other. And I found that is key for me because one of the other things, now I know you're, with the SSRIs and everything, but what happened to me is I met an addiction doctor in treatment.
Yeah.
She took one look at me and she said, well, first of all, let me just tell you, I'm one of you, which was huge. And she figured me out within the first 15 minutes. And she said, you're on one of the right medicines, but the other, you need a booster to that. So they messed with my regimen and added something onto it. I didn't know it was possible to go sleep at night without your mind racing. I thought that was normal, but
Yeah.
everybody's mind did that.
Yeah.
Mine just never shut off.
Yes.
Kind of like mine now.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's called anxiety.
Yeah.
is
Well,
what you're
now
saying.
this medicine
sure.
that they added on, which was Buspar, they had Buspar to my Cymbalta.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, like this is amazing. Like, but not only that, I was also going through the tools and learning the tools to be stronger, to deal with my anxiety in healthier ways. I learned in treatment that although my parents are not addicts, my mom was raised by addicts.
Yeah.
So she only knew how to parent as an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Right. Wow.
I learned that although some things that happened in childhood might come back now, I now have ways to deal with it. I now have the tools. I now have the understanding to deal with it. I'm still in an outpatient group. I did intensive outpatient when I got out of recovery. I'm still an outpatient now. That's winding down because I just hit 8 months.
Good for you. Congratulations.
So, but there's I look back, there are some things in treatment where I just crack up laughing because my parents tried to support me the best they could. My mom and dad are 85 and 89. They don't know a whole lot about. When I was in treatment, my dad, who's not Catholic, mind you, sent me a holy card of Saint Dymphna, who's the patron saint for the mentally ill.
Really?
And he enrolled me in
That's
the
my
Saint.
next tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
He enrolled me in the Society for the Mentally Ill, so I am a card-carrying member
Oh,
now.
my God. That's great.
I said, I'm going to put my picture on
That's
it and
awesome.
laminate it. If I ever get
I
pulled
love
over,
that.
you cannot. And I actually gave that to the I showed that to the doctor in treatment. And she's like, can I please take a picture of this and share it with my AA group?
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, absolutely.
So I just want to clarify. I'm not against SSRIs. I am against people that widely push that as an exclusive solution to
Right.
their
Yeah.
problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think if
knew what
SS,
you- we knew
yeah,
what you
I
meant.
didn't,
No,
I
yeah.
didn't, yeah, I don't. I think SSRIs are great, but I think what's even better is when people are doing work on themselves, coupled with something like an SSRI. Like whether it's seeing a therapist, being in an outpatient group.
Well, I mean, if you have a chemical imbalance of some
Yeah,
kind,
no, it definitely
outpatient's
can
not gonna
help you.
fix that.
My gripes came with the massive pharmaceutical push from
sure.
like
Well,
pharmaceutical
and I'm also
companies.
I do trauma therapy once a
Nice.
week now.
Good.
You do EMDR?
I do EMDR.
I hear that that's intense.
That's incredible.
It's
EMDR
intense.
is amazing. I just got done my first installment of it. We hit the dog attack first.
Wow,
Well,
that's
we,
a big one to go
Yeah,
first.
we
I
hit
feel like
the
that
dog-
would have been the last one.
No, it was the closest thing to my memory. It's a thing that was still. I like the word my therapist used. A lot of when you talk about addiction, people talk about triggers.
Yeah.
To me, that has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
She talks about what activates you.
Oh,
Gotcha.
what
And
turns it on?
I like it because it's not. It's like it's making it go.
Yeah,
And I just completed. It took 4 sessions to complete the dog attack.
yeah.
And when I tell you that those 4 nights, I slept like I never slept before. I felt like I ran a marathon.
Did you cry after?
No.
Okay.
I did not cry after.
That EMDR, like it's been used and shown very, very effective on combat veterans.
Oh, there's actually a new type of EMDR that they're exclusively using on veterans. I forget what it's called. A friend of mine who's very well versed in like veteran behavioral health care told me about it, but it's almost like I'll figure it out. I'll look it up one of these days and I'll send it over to you. Maybe we can discuss it on a podcast. It's almost like a miniature version of EMDR that can be done. I forget what it's called. It's got a really long name. But that's incredible. Someone very close to me, I'm not going to disclose them on the podcast right now, is going through EMDR as we speak. And I talk to them every single time when they're done it, and it is wild to watch
you
it work.
can literally see the difference.
It is insane.
At the end of the session.
It's
Well,
unbelievable.
and how she started, I was really afraid. I'm like, I live alone. I have a little 6-pound Maltipoo that I live with.
Nice.
She's not going to do much for me if I'm freaking out.
Correct.
So I had it, I made sure my best friend, I talked to her 3 times a day. We've been friends for 40 years.
Nice.
And, I had to say to her, I'm like, Jay, can I call you at 2:00 in the morning if I wake up and this is freaking
course.
me out? And she's like, is that even a question? Like, that's stupid.
Right.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
But she brought me to, the first thing she had me do is a mental safe space. And she told me to think about an area where I felt loved and protected when nothing was expected of me. And it was so weird. I went back to when I was about 4 years old. Remember Uncle Charlie? Mm-hmm. I went back to sitting on Uncle Charlie's lap.
Get out. Oh my God.
He lived with us.
How
Sitting
about
on
that?
his lap when the fireworks were going at Veterans Stadium, I was afraid. And he bought in the outside lawn chair and rocked me in my living room.
Wow.
And it's amazing that it brought me to that
How
memory.
about that? That's awesome.
We have these memories that like live with us for no rhyme or reason whatsoever. Like that they're so vivid. When you close your eyes, you can almost go right back to it. And I love hearing other people's. That's awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So whenever
Very fond memory of Uncle Charlie.
whenever I would get a little activated
Activated.
during the EMDR, she would just say, "Remember your safe space," and I would go back to it, and it was like. And then she said, "Do you want to keep doing this for other parts of your life?" And I'm like, "Absolutely!" Like,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
it's like empowering that you
Yeah.
learn how to. The memory's still there, the dog attack's still there. I can still see it, but I don't freak out when I'm thinking about it.
It's not as intense, and that's what the EMDR does.
Yeah.
It takes away the intensity. You'll never forget what you went through, but you'll be able to deal with it on a less intense basis. That's what it does. That's why you should use it in other aspects of your life.
And
It's
I
good
think
for
it
you.
was great. And meditation has been key for me too. It's a way to quiet. I fall asleep now every night
Good.
to a guided meditation
Yeah.
because it's a way to, I focus on my breathing and I calm down and I don't think about the shit that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I mean, are the memories still there? Do I still deal with shit? Yeah, but I have the tools to now understand them. And I'm lucky that I have a strong, supportive recovery community. I have family that's in recovery. I have people that I've known all my life that are in
Absolutely.
recovery.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And I just
And just a phone call away, really.
and I talked to my son about this and he's like, "Mom, everybody isn't as open about their recovery as we are." And I'm like, "But why?"
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to sound, but you'd really got to end the stigma because if you recover quietly,
Others die
they
Yeah,
die
silently.
slowly. It's
Right.
just you got to recover out loud.
But here's the thing, and again, this is going back to the principles of the program. What helps you is great. I've asked people to be on this podcast, and they were like, I don't really feel comfortable telling my story. I'm like,
I've had a
that's
few
fine.
as well.
No problem. We're still friends. No problem. But I recover way, way, way out loud because it's what I do for a living. I'm a machinist. I direct our addiction services program for 600,000 members. And I recover out loud every single day. But not everybody feels like me or you or Sam. It's just personal.
Yeah.
I think that there are people out there that follow a very, very, very old, strict regiment of spiritual principles, we'll call them.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And within that, anonymity is very important to them because I think that promotes the person who's maybe afraid to raise their hand
Yeah,
to
I
come
get
in
it.
and out themselves, right? And I've always kind of respected that, but I do think that in today's modern world, right, in 2024, honestly, in like this post-COVID world where we all like to I'm not saying we overshare about ourselves, but like we lived so online for those like 2 years
Sure.
that like a lot of people are much more comfortable now putting all their dirty laundry, or maybe not, like maybe all their progress you could call it, but like they're really, really comfortable putting it all out there, especially because of like some of the ways some social media platforms are, right? I
But
think
you could say it's kind of therapeutic
I like to throw
for you to talk
what I'm
about your
saying is,
successes.
I
right?
like to throw, of course, very therapeutic. I like to throw myself under the bus on a public forum because it shows people that like I may be 8.5 years sober, but I damn sure aren't perfect, and I'm still going to make mistakes. I'm still going to fall short, and sometimes doing it loudly, doing it on the podcast, doing it with a group of people it's just going to be a way to hold myself accountable. You know what I mean?
But there's still people that feel like they don't want to. I know people that go to AA and NA, they don't even raise their hands.
Yeah, I know.
One of the first things my sponsor, my old sponsor from South Philly from literally 38 years ago, said, kid, when nobody's hands up, that's your turn to talk. And I never knew what that meant, like, not for a little while. And really what that meant was just say something, because if you can raise your hand when you don't really have much to say, think of when you really do have something to say that you need help with. You're not going to be afraid to raise your hand. So I've always been the guy that recovers out loud to help other people. But there's, it is what it is. It's your story,
It's so funny you say that because I remember, God, maybe for my first 3 years in sobriety, my sponsor would be like, share at every meeting. I don't care.
That's what
I don't care.
Basically, that's
share
what he
at every
told me.
meeting. Fast forward, so I'm sharing at every meeting to this. At this point, I'm like 5-6 years sober. And he would come with me to we wouldn't always go to meetings together, but we would go to like sporadically, we would go together. And one day he goes to me, he goes, listen, I think you like hearing yourself talk a little too much. I think you need to like
That's great.
maybe not get your hand up so much and save that time for someone who really needs to get their hand up. And that wrecked me. That shit blew my mind. I was so like, what, dude? Really? Like, these people need to hear what I have to say. He was like, no, they don't, dude.
Right.
If you think somebody really needs your help, why don't you go after them? You go up to them after the meeting, maybe get their number and talk to them in more of a private setting if you really think that what you have to say can really help someone. And he was right,
Yeah, I mean, in my later years of sobriety, the only time I would talk is at the end of the meeting. When
Yeah.
there really wasn't anybody with
I
their
agree.
hands up. And I'll talk. But early on, it was the beginning or middle of a meeting, I would always make sure I got my hand up.
Yeah, after the speaker, get your hand up right away.
Yep.
But like now I wait. I like look around to make sure I'm not robbing time from somebody
Exactly.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it is. That's good.
It's so funny how that changes over time,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So Sal, in recovery, like, what are you doing other than, your specific type of therapy that you do? Do you do anything else therapeutically?
Well, I make more time for myself and I prioritize my mental health. And I've been really big on boundaries now.
Good.
And learning to say the word no and stop being such a people pleaser.
That's huge.
That's gigantic.
And that was tough for me. As a matter of fact, I'm in the process of leaving the job I'm at.
Really?
Congrats.
My last day is the 13th, and I'm giving myself some time off before I start my new job on the 6th of January.
Good for you.
But it's just gotten to the point that they're so used to me being the yes person that when I came back from recovery, and I took 3 months off of work.
Wow.
I took 3 months
Good for
without
you.
pay because I knew that it wouldn't be good for me
Yeah.
to jump back in. And if I came this far and I put myself in treatment and I threw myself out there, that I was going to do whatever it took to make sure I was successful in that. And I knew that I wasn't ready to go out and I work in patient services at a doctor's office. I knew I wasn't ready to go deal with that again.
That's
and
a lot.
I wasn't going to deal with the stresses of being short-staffed and, doing 10 times the work because 3 people quit and they're not hiring somebody. I had to prioritize me for the first time.
Good for you.
And I stayed out until July 8th. I went back. But as soon as I went back, I started looking for new work and just to wait to get what I wanted. So, but I don't do meetings like every day. And I think if I found the right meeting, I would definitely go.
Yeah.
But my first couple days out of recovery, I went to a few meetings. And the first meeting I went to was an AA meeting. And in it, the speaker's like, and my boyfriend, I thought he was having a heart attack and checking out. Just turns out it was an anxiety attack. All he needed was Xanax. And I'm like,
Oh my God. And that was your first meeting out.
yeah.
Somebody said that at a meeting?
Yeah.
That's
What?
really not what you say at a meeting.
That doesn't
Seriously.
sound right to me.
Yeah.
The treatment center I went in has a huge alumni community.
It does,
And they do a lot of organized things. They have an alumni group I could go to. I haven't been to the alumni meeting. I was going until I started trauma therapy. They just so happened to be on the same night. So I
Okay,
got to
I
do the
gotcha.
trauma therapy right now. But I recently had an opportunity to see the 2 interventionists that came to my door that day, and the best compliment I ever received was, "I would have never recognized you."
No
I'm
kidding.
like, well,
Really?
yeah, I had 2 black eyes and a nose cast
Oh,
on last
right,
time
yeah,
you saw
that's
Right
me.
after
true.
surgery.
But they're like,
Right.
"Oh my God!" And my son said, "Mom, I've never seen anybody jump in their interventionist arms." And I said, "They saved my life. They
Absolutely.
saved my life."
Yep. I've gotten text messages and emails from people that I've been doing interventions for 25 years, and you get the occasional text or email from someone that you've helped. I'm even friends on Facebook with some people that I've helped a decade ago,
Wow.
10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
It's very gratifying to see that you helped someone into treatment and it really took.
I mean, these are the people that put their hand out to me when I was at my lowest. So I don't know what I consider myself extremely fortunate to have family that's in recovery to understand the slippery slope I was on and give me the little nudge. I mean, and my bottom line was, if you want to be around your grandkids, you're going to do this. And I will do anything for my grandkids.
Here's the thing. We did an episode called The Interventionist.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I harp on as an interventionist is if there's no consequences, why would you ever stop doing what you're doing?
Right.
There has to be consequences. So my consequences were legal and things like that, but yours are your grandkids. So it's a consequence. You screw up, your grandkids are out.
Boundaries are everything.
Boundaries, but consequences too. Boundaries are used to keep people away at certain times.
Yeah.
Consequences are with you all the time.
Yeah, but the blessing is you have a son that understands
Of
how
course.
important hammering those boundaries
Yep. And
are.
the good thing is, too, is I always thought that I had to be this strong superwoman for my kids, and they couldn't see me falter, and they couldn't see me as anything less than this strong woman who's getting through everything. But in reality, I was struggling behind the scenes, and they were pushing me further away because they didn't want the fake version of me that I was portraying.
Right.
Now there was a time over the summer where where I had to, I realized that I never grieved the dog I had to put down.
Yeah.
And there was just 2 days where I did nothing but cry.
Aw.
But I let myself feel those emotions.
Absolutely.
And that's what was important to me is I let myself feel the emotions. I had to let myself, as uncomfortable as it was to sit in my discomfort, like to sit there with that.
Right. Of course.
And I remember calling my son up and I said, you know, Lou, I think I really need to see the kids, but I'm not really happy right now. So I respect if you don't want that around your kids. My grandkids
Yeah.
are 3 and 1. I respect if you don't want that around them. And he went, no, I think it would do you and them a lot of good. And I went over
Cool.
and I cooked dinner because I love to do that for my kids. I love to cook for them. I went over, I cooked dinner. My grandson helped me make the salad.
Very good.
And I just left there. I felt complete.
You probably felt so good.
I did. And then there was, then after being in recovery a few months, my daughter-in-law got ill, and my son's like, Mom, I need your help with the kids. I'm like, okay.
course.
Yeah.
Smile. I didn't want my
Yeah.
daughter-in-law to be ill. God,
Yeah.
no.
Right, of
But I was
course.
so happy that he turned to me.
You felt needed.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
nice that he trusted me enough
Yeah.
to ask me for help.
He wouldn't have done it a year ago.
No, he wouldn't have done it a year ago.
Wow.
Well, that's making gigantic
Yeah.
strides.
And our relationship with all 3 of my kids has gotten so much better because they know when I first got out of treatment, I was in touch with one of them every day. Had to talk to
Okay.
them, because they wanted,
Sure.
my thing was I would isolate and I wouldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So I went dark. And when I went dark is when they worried. And now they don't have to worry. They just know that it means I'm out there, I'm busy, I'm doing something, I'm making plans for the future, which is something I didn't do before. I made plans with my best friend. We're going to go to Nashville next year. We're going to spend a week in Nashville. Going up to New York to see my son. And, we're going to be in a studio apartment together. So there's some,
Oh, you're staying with him?
yeah, I'm staying with him.
Oh, that'll be nice.
That's going to be tight circumstances,
Yeah,
but it'll be fun.
I sent an air mattress up, and
Oh, yeah. There you go.
I mean, I've already been. I spent some time with him in July up there too, and we're kind of like the same things. We like the same music, the same Broadway shows. We like to go out to eat. We love to eat. And these are all things I get to do with my kids. And like another big thing is just this past weekend, I called my daughter, and her and her boyfriend recently bought a house together, and I had left some stuff there. I'm like, just put it on the porch. I'm going to come by and grab it. And her and her boyfriend are like, no, we're going to go get brunch. Come join us. I'm like, really?
See?
Okay.
You're back.
People want to be around me now.
Yeah.
That's right. You're back. You're finally back.
Yeah.
The treatment center you went to is very, very well known. We talked about this before. They actually gave me an award like 12 or 13 years ago at
the breakfast?
annual breakfast. Yeah,
I go to that
very,
breakfast
very
every
proud
year.
of that. I used to go to that breakfast every year.
Same.
But an outstanding treatment center, no doubt, help a lot of people. So as far as like meetings, you still go to some here and there, or you just
I do Dharma
work on your Dharma?
Well, I do Dharma every Friday.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the alumni meetings. Now that my job is changing, I might be able to schedule my therapy at a different time because they're the third Wednesday of every month, and I liked being around people that know exactly where I'm coming from. But I do all the events that I can. I went to their family reunion over the summer. I just went to their gala in Philadelphia.
Cool.
My second night out of treatment, I went to their talent competition that
Really?
they had.
Did you sing or something?
Oh God, no! I just sat there.
Oh,
Nobody.
you watched. Okay, I got you.
Sister Claire Anthony from St. Richard's told me to sit down
Oh,
and
my
not
God.
open my mouth up.
There's a blast from the past.
She said, "You
Wow.
sit there and just don't say a word."
Wow.
That's how good I sing.
Wow.
Awesome. I'm sure you still sing good in your car.
I sound great in my car.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
We all do.
No doubt. But this was really fun. This was a great
This was so
this was a
refreshing
great
for me.
a great podcast because we really enjoy having someone new to recovery on. We always feature someone with like multiple years of sobriety, and it's really refreshing. Talking to someone in early recovery, and it's the newcomers kind of make it happen and keep
100%.
it alive. So we love talking to the newcomer, and this podcast We're heard around the world. So this podcast is going to be dedicated to all the newcomers. I mean, you got to give them hope to keep coming back.
I just love seeing someone that's like in it. You know what I mean? If I think back, I mean, don't get me wrong. Every day of my life is a blessing, and I could never imagine living a life that I live today. But when I think back to like the first 3 years that I was sober, and it was really like the way you talked about your relationships with your kids becoming something that maybe you didn't even think was possible, Like, that's the best. You're like really just discovering what you're capable of, just emotionally, not even like anything outside of that. And you're working on yourself, and every single day is like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And you're plugged in, and you're talking to your girlfriends that you're in treatment with, and you're saying, excuse my language, but you're just like, fuck my job. I'm going to go get a new job.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because you know what? You know you can do it, right? You have this like blind faith that things are going to work out because they're continuing to work out because you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And it's just like, look at her, dude. She's glowing, dude. She's got it.
I know.
She's in it. Like, it's the best.
And the great thing is,
it's amazing.
If you go back to your addiction and when it all started, and even go back further than that, like if you look at the last 8-9 months, however long you've been out of treatment, you've never been supported so much in your life.
Oh, it's the most amazing feeling.
You didn't get it from your husband, your job, your whatever, but you have it now.
Yeah.
And support is so important in treatment. You can't do it alone. You definitely can't do it alone. Even if your parents don't understand it.
Yeah.
My parents are 87. They don't get it. And guess what? I don't talk to them about it. You know why? It's none of their business. And I don't need to talk to them about it. They're too old to understand now. They don't need to know that I'm in Camden at 2 a.m.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to tell them that.
No.
It's just, you were getting yours from doctors and stuff.
Yeah.
I was
so
in
different.
basements in Camden.
Oh, yeah. I was down
Surrounded.
in Kensington. Yeah.
One of the best feelings, and this is going to sound cruel, but my parents came over my first morning home from treatment, and my mom laid right into me. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? And I said, you have to leave right now. You got to go.
Your first morning home?
Yeah. You got to go.
She didn't know.
She didn't
Like,
know.
she honestly didn't know.
Do you know what I got, though? And I still have it on my phone. I got an apology.
Oh, nice.
See, that's
Yeah.
that's awesome.
But
Those are rare.
But
Yeah.
it's the first time I ever stood up for myself in my life. As far as my parents were. Like, again, I was always the yes person. It's so important. Like, I'm finally putting myself first.
By kicking them
Yeah.
out of your house, you were putting your foot down, saying, "I'm first now."
Yeah.
You were
I love
protecting
you guys
yourself.
to death, but I have to put myself first,
Yeah.
or it'll be the end of me, basically.
I can't go back into that hole.
No. You were protecting yourself
Yeah.
with your new family.
And it felt great. I mean, it sounds horrible to say that felt great, but it felt great.
No, but it's very freeing, and basically, you're telling yourself that you have the power to do this, and to respect your boundaries.
Yep.
Like that's, and again, mom's 85 or whatever, so she didn't know any better.
No.
So we give her a little slack for that.
Oh,
Well,
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Give her a
Different
lot of slack
generation,
for
too. Total different
Yeah,
generation.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're what I like the same thing I call my parents. They're Depression era kids.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't know this stuff. Or you're weak. If you weren't so weak, it's not about that.
Well,
but
in their day, you weren't allowed to talk about it.
Of
You weren't
course
allowed to talk
not.
about any problems you
Anything.
had.
no
Nope.
issues, none whatsoever. But that's why I tell people, like, if you don't want to talk to them about it, that's fine. Like when you get to step 8 and step 9, if you feel like it's going to hurt them to go and make amends for something, you got to let it go. Because if it hurts them and only helps you, it's no good.
Yep.
It's definitely no good. Right, Sam?
Couldn't agree more, brother.
Definitely. But do you work the steps or no?
No.
Okay. that's
Not
cool.
yet. Maybe you will, maybe you
I
won't.
might.
Never know
I
about the
might.
future.
Listen,
I might.
never say never, but
No, I'm not. I'm open to anything. It's just, like I said, I haven't found the right meeting.
Right. And I look at it this way. You look at step 1, and step 1 fits you. How powerless you were over this particular drug. And that only God could help you. And that's what happened.
Yep.
Basically.
100%.
It happens to all of us. So you could actually read through the steps and see where,
Oh, I have both
where you
the
kind
books.
of
I got
match
both
them
the
up.
books in treatment, and I have them, and I go through them. I do, and I do the daily. I do an AA daily devotional every
good,
morning.
good.
Yeah, daily reflection.
Yeah,
The big books, the big book is really good to read too. There's a lot of great stories
There
in there.
are a
and,
lot of great
you
stories
know,
in there.
And it's a real easy read. But again, you know, you've found what you need in this Dharma type therapy, which is great. Some people swear that if you don't work AA or NA, you're doomed. And that's just not, we don't believe that here on this podcast. We believe there's many ways to sobriety. And you picked one and it works like a charm for you.
yeah,
And that's what it's all about. It's about never doing drugs again, but not just staying abstinent. Anybody can stay abstinent, but you'll lead a horrible life.
right.
Aggravated, angry, whatever. But through the 12 steps, 12 traditions, and of course what you do, Dharma, it allows you to get through that anger or anxiety or whatever it is you're feeling.
Yeah,
I feel like that's just one of those things that, you know, I'm a firm believer that when the time comes, and if the time comes, really, you'll be presented with an opportunity to do that if it makes sense for you.
Right.
You know? And typically that's done with another addict or an alcoholic because that book isn't meant to be read by yourself in your apartment with your dog, you know?
my dog.
It's meant to be read with somebody else. I mean, I remember the first time I read it, I looked over at my sponsor at the time and I was like, yeah, nodding my head. He's looking at me like, you don't know what any of this means. You know what I mean? Like, you dropped out of high school, kid. Like,
Right.
there's no shot that you're reading this book that was written in the 30s and
Right.
you understand what this means. I'm like, you're right, I don't. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, that's why I'm here to explain it to you in great detail. And I'm so glad he did. You
Right.
know?
And there again goes back to we don't recover alone.
Exactly.
We recover together. And that's what we do.
Absolutely.
We help each other. And that's what you'll eventually do.
yep.
You have to take care of yourself first, obviously, but you know, there'll be a point in time where you may get that phone call. Like, oh, Sally's in long-term recovery and I got a kid that this or that or whatever. You'll be the one that jumps in and helps them.
Absolutely. Well, this was incredible.
Yeah, I loved
listen,
it. This was great.
so
I
refreshing.
can't thank you enough for coming
I
on.
could do this
No,
all
thank
the
you,
time.
guys.
This is
Really, this
maybe
was-
my
this was
favorite
a lot of
podcast
fun.
we've done yet. Yeah.
Little bit of a drive.
Yeah,
no,
that's
I'm just
okay.
kidding.
I
We're
like
a
it.
traveling podcast. It doesn't
We
matter.
are. We've been far, bro. We've been way farther than
We've
this.
been to Massachusetts.
We've been to Hoboken, New Jersey.
Hoboken,
Yeah,
right?
I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
about Massachusetts.
We've been all over.
yeah.
We
A
were
little
even-
closer than Hoboken.
Yeah, we're a little closer.
Yeah, you're,
than,
oh my
a little
God.
closer than Worcester,
Yeah.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's-
We're
we're
up
up there,
in
buddy.
Mass. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're a traveling podcast, and we traveled out to Newtown Square, Pennsylvania today. It's in Delaware County, right outside Philadelphia.
This is the great part of Delaware County.
It's an awesome place.
It
It's an
is.
awesome area. But I'd like to thank my good friend Sally for coming on the show. It really means a lot to me and the show. I'm sure Sam feels the same way.
Yes, sir.
So, any closing thoughts, Sal?
Just work it.
Work it.
Appreciate
work
you
it.
saying that.
Work it.
You got to put in the work.
You do.
Right.
Oh, and it never goes away. It never goes away.
You just
ever.
got to do it every day.
It only evolves into something else.
That's right. Sam, any last words?
No, I just wanted to thank you for having us. This was great.
You're welcome.
It was so nice to meet you. You're a glowing, shining representation of what someone who shows up and does what they're supposed to do should look like, you know?
Thank you.
Maybe we can get Sam to stop whispering on the next episode. 'Cause
Maybe.
God,
Don't count on it.
it's ridiculous, man. But Sal, I really, really appreciate you coming on. And I'm Vinny. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And I'm Sam, alcoholic and an addict.
And I'm Sally. I'm an addict.
And this is Tenacious Recovery. You got to be tenacious about your recovery if you want to stay sober. And we're going to wrap things up tonight. And God willing, see you again soon.